the meeting to order. Good morning. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members and the secretary. Today it's Brent McIntyre to my left. I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairing. Jonathan Valinsky is the assessor today, and Huda Aziz is our administrative assistant. We will be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Swear them in, please.
Would you like to affirm or swear? I'll swear. Please state your full name. And you swear the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and all you got? Thank you. Would you like to affirm or swear?
Affirm.
Please state your full name.
Rocky Newfield.
And you affirm the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
We will start off with 243 Maryland Street. When you are ready, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4659. The roll number is 12090422100. The address is 243 Maryland Street. We have a vacant commercial parcel. Land area is 12,310 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value of $519,000. Just turning to page 3, please. We have overhead picture of the subject property.
Page what?
3.
Page 3.
On top there, you can see it's used as parking. Bottom of page 3 is an overhead view of the lot. It's on Maryland Street, pretty close to the corner of Broadway and Maryland. Turning to page 4 are the subject comparables at the bottom of the page. The first comparable is found at 221 Stradbrook Ave. We have also a VCOM property sold in August of 13. Sale price per square foot is $42.12. Second comparable is found at 664 Corridon. VCOM property sold in June of 2015 for $37.88 per square foot. Third comparable is found at 215 Logan Ave. VCOM property sold November of 17 at $46.10 per square foot. And our last comparable is at 174 Isabel Street. It's also a VCOM property sold in November of 2017 for $34.22. And that is my brief, thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Newfield?
Yes, page, valuation page Mary? You had parcels on the bottom of page 4, at the top, there's no extension. So how did it get to where it was?
So page 2, we have a land value of 509,000.
Right, so what's that per square foot then? Oh, never mind, I see it, page 5. Okay. Was this valuation on page 5 done by the model?
Yes.
Okay. And what about the improvements? Is that also in your model?
Yeah.
Now, I've
Which-
never seen this being applied, parking and wiring to a parking lot in all valuations, and we spent a lot of time yesterday on several of these. Is this something that's done all the time?
I'm not sure if it's done all the time, but for this particular property it is.
Okay. So, based on the applied price, your comparables, you have none in the area, do you?
They, none butted up to the subject, but
Well, like, for example, the first one is the Winter Club land, which is on the other side of Donald. And that was a tennis court that is being redeveloped to a high-rise apartment. And now, do you know with that particular sale, at what point in that process it was made? Was it after the approval of the units?
I do not know.
Okay. The next one is, I believe it's a small grocery store that had a building on the site, is that correct?
Sounds right.
Was it demolished?
I'm not sure.
And that's on court. And the third one, what was this? Was this a piece of land?
Yes, a 2,000 square foot piece of land. I'm not sure what it's being used for.
Okay, and same question, the last one, 174 years ago. Do you have any idea of what it was, what it had a building on it? Is it land?
I do not know.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Frank?
I have no questions.
And I've got no questions. Mr. Neufeld, on with your presentation?
Thank you. There's a typo, but it's not, it doesn't affect anything. The middle of the page where we have our extension of value, it says 397,121. I believe that's a rate per acre that we chose. That should say 3226 times 12,310. So it was just a conversion to acres from square feet. This property is the parking lot for the Nine Circles Community Health Center, immediately across the back lane. The two properties are owned by the same party and covered under one lease to Nine Circles. The long-standing agreement we've had with the assessment department was that we would treat these as one, but we have no control. We have the office is heard one day, and a few weeks later, here comes the parking lot. So we've always made an offer that we've always stuck to, which was if we resolve it at the first one that goes in, we would withdraw the second one. And there was a change. We were comfortable with what had been done to that building, 705 Broadway. However, the city chose to appeal it, so we're hardly expected to live up to anything in there. We have to look at it separately, and I guess deal with it later when they come up with municipal board. So we're treating it as an independent. It does not receive an independent number on parking. Everything's included on the lease of the building to the south. As a result, we're looking at it on the basis of land value. Page 2, we have several sales in the immediate area, and there are 2 that are just across the river in Fort Rouge, and they were selected because they were C2 zoned. We couldn't find any C2 zoned in the immediate area. You can see the ones we have on Maryland, Sherbrooke, and Furby. These are generally multiple family housing, and they range from 1708 to 5690. The 2 across the river were C2, and they were between $24 and $30. To be clear, multifamily housing in today's marketplace is commanding very strong numbers, far more than retail can produce, and therefore we don't think that the use of multifamily lands is in any way prejudicial. As a matter of fact, it might be overstating. We looked at the average of these values because, as you can see, we have a high of 56, a low of 17, and that's the market. So our average on that was 3226. Applied to the subject, it's $397,000. And for interest sake, the zoning chart is included, and the uses on it are established. C2 is slightly more, is more permissive than C1, not as good as C3, and there are a wide variety of uses that can occur on this property. But again, I think we're dealing with a part of town where this is located. A great degree of social services are being done in this area, including the actual use of the property. The actual use of the property is a clinic that is run by First Nations groups, primarily for HIV treatment, and funded by the WRHA. That's my presentation, thank you.
Jonathan, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So you mentioned the 705 Broadway appeal.
Yes.
Did they take the value of the parking off of that
Yes, they did.
building? And what value did they take?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me right now.
Okay.
But it was adequate. I think they took off most all of the value.
I have it for the full amount.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, had the city not appealed and we had certainty, we would be content. But as a result, this has to go, remain active.
Okay, thank you. I have no further other questions.
Brent?
I have no questions.
So the amount they would have pulled off then would have been the 519. That would have been
Correct. And we will still hold to our promise no matter what happens at the board. If that number holds up, if, for example, the board changes it, we would consent to an increase to hit the 705 number on that appeal. I forgot, what was the number? Do you have the number?
Yes. So the original value of 705 Broadway was $2,270,000. $519,000 was taken off, and the value now is at $1,752,000.
Right. We'll live with that agreement of the final number, and because I have no control over it. So say, for example, the board granted $397,000, and the city has the other one under appeal, we'll consent to an increase of that same amount. Tape's running. Somebody's watching, we know it.
Any other questions, Jonathan?
No.
Brent?
No, I have no question.
Leave it with us. That's the way they should have done it.
I agree.
Move to 227 Sherbrooke, please. And this this one you've got liability of taxation, amount of assessed value, and classification.
Right, and what has happened since I filed this, it originally was other property, so the city has changed the class to residential, and they've also merged it with the adjoining roll. So I believe it's all, but this roll's now dead,
Yep.
and can't withdraw something that's dead because it's dead already. It's just dead.
It's just dead, so we just confirm it.
I believe so.
Is that correct?
Oh, well, I'm okay with that.
Hmm? You're okay with that?
Well, the roll number doesn't exist.
No, the roll, we've got no way of killing it other than to confirm it. And you guys deal with it over there, right?
I talked to Ayrton on the phone last night.
Yeah, we're fine with it. This is the Winter Club site.
Yep.
And so the city, we requested a class change about a year ago, and they got around to doing it right after we filed the appeal, and then merged them. So it's,
Why didn't you just 15-1 it?
oh, there's always somebody's got another idea how to handle something.
This is the direction we took, which is
So this roll number has been superseded
yes.
by another roll number.
Yep.
So does not the appeal disappear?
Yes, it does, but we've got no way of making the appeal disappear unless we confirm it. We can't void an appeal. We had this discussion before, didn't we? Yes.
But can Rocky withdraw this one?
I don't
That he could
know.
do.
Can I?
That he could do. He could withdraw it.
That'd be a lot of pressure, but I mean,
Well, we can fill out the form for you if you want.
We can fill out the
You
form.
can withdraw it.
yeah,
Yes, so you can just sign it all off as withdrawn.
fine if it makes everybody happy.
All three of
Probably
them.
makes it easier.
Makes it easier if you withdraw.
Okay.
Withdrawn.
But I think that's a lot like killing a dead person.
Yeah.
You can't
We've still got to kill a dead person. We can't.
waste, it's just a waste of bullets. Of course,
No,
I
we
should
just
say.
wasted some bullets. Sign them off.
You don't mind if I just put in,
Yeah, go for it.
considering what I'm signing here,
Yeah.
1, 2, or 3, 1, 1, 8, 0, 0.
And you have to withdraw all three?
Yeah, you gotta do the three withdrawals.
Oh, I'm right here, under undue pressure from,
Take your time. Are all three there?
Yep.
Yeah. That concludes that matter. Let's move on to the next one. 1122 Henderson.
No, 1054 Main.
Why? I took the wrong one. Let me find it.
I have an extra copy if you guys find
I-
it.
Just let me, I'll go through it again. Merriman. Stradbrook.
There you go.
There's me.
There it is.
Give me time, I'll get it. 1054 Main, please.
Thank you.
Just a moment.
File number 19-4366, roll number 140-220-909000, pardon me. Address is 1054 Main Street. We have a vacant commercial parcel. Land area is 3,936 square feet. Our recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turn to page 2, please. We have a subject sale history here listed. Registration date, October 2017. It was sold for $95,000. This is a arm's length transaction between two unrelated parties. Turning to page 3, we have a picture of where it's located at the corner of Burroughs Ave and Main Street. And the bottom of page 3 shows the shape of the parcel and where it's located. Turning to page 4, please. 4 comparables here listed, all on Main Street. First one is at 1731 Main, sale date from April 15. C2, sale price per square foot, $29.95. Second comparable is at 2430 Main Street, vacant commercial, land size 21,891 square feet. To C1, sale price is $24.90 per square foot. Third comparable is found at 2470 Main Street, also VCOM. C2, sale price per square foot, $23.15. Last comparable is at 984 Main. It's also vacant commercial, and it's also C2, and it was sold for $20.69 per square foot. Just for reference to my comparables, if we turn to page 5, the valuation for the subject is at $26.42. And that is my brief thinking.
Mr. Neufeld, question?
Thank you. So the value of 2642 a square foot, was this created by the model?
Yes,
And your comparables, page 4, do you have a hand in their selection?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so, your 4 comparables are different parts of Main Street. Is it your opinion that the value on Main Street is consistent from the thousands to the 2500s?
Sorry, what do you mean by?
Well, at 1,000 Main,
Oh, I see.
would the value be the same as at 2430 Main?
I would be a little bit different, yes.
Yeah, so, and your lowest value, of course, is the one that's closest to the subject at $20.69, correct?
Yes, it is the closest, yes.
And for example, the ones on comparables number 2 and 3 are being developed into modern retail, correct? With the mall, they build up a commercial in that area?
Yeah, I believe so.
You mentioned a sale, was there another sale on the same date for the property next door, do you know?
I don't have that information on it.
Okay, and, so you have no information in your file how it's connected with the property next door?
I do not.
Okay, I, for some reason, don't have my last year's file with me. Do you happen to have last year's assessment? Excuse me.
I do not.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Those are my questions.
Fred?
Was the sale bona fide?
Yes.
That's my question.
Mr. Neufeld, on with your presentation.
Thank you. Page 1 of my presentation, subject property is highlighted. The owner also owns the building immediately to the north. And you'll note from the picture that the subject property provides the access to the rear of the building to the north. So this was deemed an assemblage sale. So it's not a market value sale. It was a premium paid to get access to the rear of his yard. The sales that we brought forward, there are a few. What we tried to do was, again, is to get as close to the subject area as possible. Obviously, North Main is much different than Main Street at Burroughs. I did not see, or we did not see the sale that the assessor had brought forward when we did our research. And, oh, because it was 2012. We don't go back that far, sorry. The assessor's sales are fairly dated, so we did look at, we do our search, we put a 2-year limit on our search, and we look for vacant land, and this is the only ones that came up in the area, and as you can see, we've started with the roll number, everything that starts with 14, just because that gets you a flavor of the neighborhood. I think that, and you can see from some of our pictures that some of the properties are located nearby to Main Street. Now, Selkirk is a bit south of Burroughs, but it's in what we euphemistically call the red zone. And that's been a term in place for quite some time, and it refers to the difficulty in getting insurance on a property in the neighborhood. But again, it is what it is. We had, looking at these sales, we had have an average of 1424, and although the assessor's sale is somewhat dated, I'd be pleased to add the 20 into the mix. And I haven't done a mathematical calculation, but we should move that upwards slightly to reflect that sale, and I think our sale number 2 should be removed because it's larger and it's industrial. So taking that out, 110 divided by 7. We would be higher, probably about $16 a square foot as an average. This is a mathematical calculation, not an appraisal. That comes to a value of $62,976, rounded to $63,000. That's my presentation.
Jonathan, question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just on your front page with your comparables, used a lot of Selkirk comps and Jarvis and Powers. Would you say these are as desirable as a Main Street location?
Well, there's pictures of 2 of the sales on page 2 and 3. And on the left-hand side, you can see our sale 5 on Selkirk, and it's located a few blocks down from Salter. So it is C2 zoned. And then the next sales number 3 and 4, which were 2 parcels side by side, and they are a few hundred feet off Main Street, south of the subject. Again, C2 zoned. The concept is Main Street provide a better value than Selkirk at this particular juncture. You can look at it 2 ways. One is Main Street has more visibility because it has more traffic. So if you have a business that enjoys impulse decisions or can benefit from a view, it's better. If you have a business where the locals shop there or buy things there, it's worse because you don't stop on a busy street. You would rather be in Selkirk. So it's it's a mixed thing, and so it's a good point. I think if you're buying in this local neighborhood, you have one or the other, and certainly I don't think we're looking at much value difference one way or another.
Thank you, no further questions.
Brent?
I have no questions.
This property, when it was bought, was there a building on it?
No,
No? It's not a parking lot.
it's being used as a lot.
Yeah. The one on your page 3. Those were residential?
I'm not entirely sure. They are C2 zoned. So my guess is gonna be that at one point in their lives, they were residential and there was a commercial conversion.
Is that all parking lots around it?
Around,
Like around around on that page 3.
Oh, yeah, I can't, yeah, there's one to the south,
One on Main Street.
and there's a part of a parking lot for a commercial building on the east. I have to claim ignorance, it's not an area I go by every day.
I might have missed something here, but what did you say about 1731 on the assessors, page 4?
That numbers 1 to 3 were in a different neighborhood than the subject, and they would be expected to get better rates.
Okay.
So I found his sale number 4 to be compelling, although it's older, but, how much time do you wanna spend on this? I had another thought.
Go ahead.
Well, so this is all coming back to me now. There is a billboard on this site.
Mhm.
So, I just remembered that when I answered the question from the assessor. So when I redid my numbers, my average ended up being 16-17. But I believe that we should be moving upwards in the range to account for the visibility. The billboard is generating some income, not enough to cover the value of the lot, but they do produce something. So I'm now thinking I would probably like to see a value of about $20 a square foot. And that's 78,720.
Rounded to 79.
Yeah. And that takes into account the one assessor sale, and looking at some of the other sales we presented is just throwing them out as low outliers.
Jonathan, any questions on the new information that you just provided?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know what kind of income the billboard?
I think it's about $4,000 a year.
Okay. And it's rented
Net gross, yeah. I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm guessing that it's a commission-based one where you get a piece of the, they do it two ways. One is they rent really cheap, and they give you a flat rate every year, or they can do it on a commission basis, and you get a piece of their action. So, I think this one is a flat rate, which is, towards the lower end. So if they were, I think 4,000, and in that case, then you'd have to take the taxes off, which are $2,500 a year, so netting out 1,500. That's what I'm saying, it's marginal, but with the value, it helps with the other property for access and accessory parking, then that would indicate a higher value. If it were ever sold for development, what would need to happen is that you'd have to put a easement agreement on it to allow access to the other property's rear, so that's gonna diminish its potential in the marketplace as a commercial sale. And you're also not going to be able to get away with the parking that was done in previous years. This is now C2 zoning, where when Old Main Street was built, I don't even know if zoning existed. Well, it did, but it was very permissive, with maybe a row of parking at the back. Now you're gonna be held to the standards, and I believe a stall per 250 is a requirement, per 250 square feet development. So you'd have a higher parking quotient.
Okay. So your comparables list on page 1, would they be able to do billboards and desirable parking like the subject?
I think that any sort of, every site can make billboard revenue, it's just a question of how much. And I think that it's superior on the subject.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Brian?
I have no question.
Okay. Now, we can go to 1122 Anderson Drive. 1122 Henderson. When you're ready, Jonathan. They got a microphone in the other room or what?
That's America.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a microphone. File number, are we ready?
Yes.
Do I have a contest?
Unless you
You're
match
not
him.
gonna speak up, but I could take a shot at it.
Alright, file number 19-4580, roll number 0400436200. The address is 1122 Henderson Highway. We have a vacant commercial parcel. The land area is 37,157 square feet. We're asking to confirm the assessed value. Just a little history on the parcel. There's an inspection done 2017, October. There was an office building of 14,580 square feet. It was demolished effective September 19th, 2017. We changed the puck from CM office to vacant commercial. And that is the history there. If we turn to page 3, please. We have some overhead views of where it is located on Henderson. As we can see, it's vacant amongst parking and other, I believe that's a apartment building. And turning to page 4, the comparables here listed, 5 comparables close to the subject. First one's at 1496 Regent. VCOM, land size 55,659 square feet, sale price per square foot at $30. Second comparables at 2033 Henderson Highway, vacant commercial, land size 26,000 square feet, sale price $36.54 per square foot. Third comparable is at 2131 Henderson Highway. It's also a VCOM. Land size is 11,712 square feet, sold at $28 per square foot. Fourth comparable is at 808 Regent Ave. It's VCOM. The land size is 12,266 square feet. Sale price per square foot, $32.61. And the last comparable is at 1328 Plessis Road. It's also a VCOM. The land size is 27,391 square feet, and it's sold at per square foot price of $29.21. And just for reference, turning to page 5, it breaks out the valuation. The subject is at $28.80 per square foot. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Newfield, questions?
So the model is 2880 square foot,
That is correct.
and the comparables that were selected, you select them or the model?
I did.
Okay, and they date from 2012 to 2015, don't you have anything more current?
For the best comparables I could find for the subject, it's,
On what basis were your comparison parameters?
size, location, basically those two.
Okay, and when you say location, are you suggesting then that this part of Henderson Highway is comparable to 1496 Regent?
It is, that one's a little bit further away for sure.
Yeah, and what's being built in 1496 Regent?
I don't have that on me.
How about the two on Henderson Highway? Do you have any information on what was built?
No, I didn't.
Any of the others?
No, I don't.
Wouldn't that be kind of important if they were building something other than what you could put on the subject? Like, for example, Regent's been, a fair amount of land being purchased by the casino, and, which is considered assemblage. In order for them to continue their operation, they've been paying very high prices, so that would be important to know, wouldn't it?
It would be important. I'm just using these at this point of sale for vacant commercial land. This is what it's sold for.
And do all of these properties have normal frontages on the roads that they're on?
I do not know.
Well, you have a subject layout here on page 3, which is a rearage property with a small lane, a narrow lane that goes to Henderson. You would agree that's a bit of a difficult configuration?
I would agree.
Are any of your comparables so configured?
I don't believe they're set back like the subject.
Thank you, those are my questions.
Brent,
I have no questions.
is this property tied with the frontage one at 1114 Henderson?
Currently, it's a completely separate roll number. I'm not sure if it's the same owner or not. I don't have that on me.
Yeah, Mr. Neufeld already asked the other questions I wanted, so. On to your presentation, Mr. Neufeld.
Thank you. Subject property is one lot in a 3-unit development comprised of 1114, 1122, and 1128 Henderson. The usage on this site had been social service offices. When the lease expired several years ago, it sat vacant for 4 or 5 years, could not attract a tenant, nobody wanted a rearage property. At that point, they consulted, I was one of the people they consulted, and they weren't getting any rent, so chose to demolish it to reduce the tax burden. And now there are some plans underway to try to expand the strip next door. The problem with this property, of course, is visibility. With a social services office that was in there, visibility was not an issue. A retail use would be an issue, so it's not a good site. The pad site in the front was a, I want to say Wendy's?
Starbucks.
No, it was.
That was what
Yes,
No,
and then
Starbucks.
the strangest conversion ever, they took a Wendy's building and converted it to a Starbucks and a TanFX. And lost $20 a foot in rent in doing so. And it's also has been used for overflow parking because the community shopping center to the north, of course, lacks parking. And that was one of the ways that it was able to deal with the parking bylaw is the community service offices has a 1 stall per 1,000, the shopping center has a 1 stall per 250, the restaurants have a 1 stall per 100. And they have a drive-through. So it was part of that economic unit. But as of now, you could call it more of a dormant use on the market. And the demolition occurred September 2017. So what we're looking at is land values. We've tried to stay, again, our choice of parameters is slightly different. We start, our first parameter is always the year. Keep within 2 years so we don't have to argue about adjustments and market changes. It's better that way. And then we try to hit the area. And then we go for the use and the zoning. And so you can see that when we did this, we only came up with 3 sales that are actually on Henderson, and then when we expanded it to roll numbers that start with 4 as the subject is, so what we're doing in this case is getting side streets, then there were a few more, and then we expanded our parameters and got some from 6 in, just on vacant land. We only had 3 vacant commercial lands, the rest were residential or industrial. And some of the industrial sales were zoned industrial, for example, number 6, but I believe that's a redevelopment land for multifamily. And so essentially, what we should be looking at when we do these valuations is area, use, and year. So when we came up with these bulk numbers, the thing to do would be to get rid of the outliers. Now, this hasn't been done because we have a lot of sales here, so that we have the advantage then of getting rid of the outliers. And I would suggest the 3 lowest ones don't belong. They're lower values and they're all M-zone land, and knowing their locations, their potential for redevelopment is poor. The highest one is also out because it doesn't even reflect the rest. It's 100% different from the rest of them. So that's the statistical analysis. Pictures on page 3 of some of the Henderson ones. Top one is 775, and sale number 12 and 13 were 865. And the other reason for getting rid of the bottom one is it also resold 2 years later at twice the value. That's not an indication of market, that's an indication of somebody had a project to put on it and paid more money for it. Really what we should be looking at is a value between around $19 for frontage land on Henderson. We don't have frontage, and it's impacted by this. My personal opinion is I wouldn't have used the mean in here. I would have looked at the 2 on Henderson and then adjusted downwards to $15 a foot to account for that lack of frontage, but I'm not gonna change. I think it's not fair to the assessor to change my number downwards. I think it's only fair to change it upwards, because that's why we're here today. But my opinion would be $15 a foot, but we're gonna leave it as it is at $17.56, $652,000. Last year's assessment was appealed, and at the point we were appealing it, there was some debate because it had been vacated. We had demolition permits, but it hadn't come down yet. So it was the old problem of physical condition as of the date of appeal versus market condition because of the reference date. So we let that, we didn't appeal that number, but demolition has been complete. And so now we need to treat it as vacant land. Thank you.
Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So turning to your page 2, you spoke to the 865 Henderson sales. Is that the Fort Group building?
The what?
Is that the Fort Group building?
I don't know for sure.
Okay. What was the motivation? You mentioned that the sale doubled. Why, what was the motivation?
Well, you know, I don't have any direct proof. I'm making an assumption that when a value doubles in a very, very short time frame, someone's got motivation on it. And it generally in the marketplace, it'll be someone has a project in mind, because if you have a project and you know how much money you're gonna generate under the concept of land residual, then you have a budget that you can afford to spend on the land to do your project. So it becomes a different highest and best use. Whereas often cases of land just transact, because without a set project in mind, the number will be different. That's just my assumption.
Okay. So you don't believe that this was market value at $39?
Well, I would be suspicious of that sale over the other one. The other one was supported by a sale nearby and supported by general sales in the market. For example, off Henderson sales coming in at $14, Henderson sales coming in at $18 to $19, and then all of a sudden you have a $39 sale. That would bother me.
would you agree that in terms of time frame and location and size, wouldn't this sale, comparable 13 be your best comparable?
Oh, no, not at all, because like I said, for the reasons I've discussed, when you get a sale like that, and one could even suggest that both sales should be tossed for the very same reason, we can debate adjustments for years, but the realistic way of dealing with it is if you find any evidence of undue motivation, which is clear that there was some one way or another. One of the sales is undue motivation. You're often best to avoid dealing with it altogether and not putting all your hope on that, because we don't know what was going through people's minds. We can't prove it. There are enough sales to show that a lot of concern on their reliability should be exercised.
Okay.
That's why I immediately looked at it and said, no, we're not using the last one for sure, and possibly even the one before, it should less reliance on there. That then just leaves you with the concept of the other sales and the off sales.
Okay. I'm just thinking in terms of paired sales analysis, these two sales are so close together, and kind of gives a good idea of what the market's doing in this.
Yes, but the underlying concept of pair sale analysis has to be the same motivation. And it's not gonna be the case in something like this. Like paired sales works great if, for example, you have a homogeneous product whose highest and best use will remain stable throughout that thing, which would be an already improved property generally, not one where there's development motivation. Had we had more time to investigate, we could come up with something if we knew the details. We didn't, neither of us, I suppose, did. So let's just throw it up, both of them out.
Okay, no further questions.
Brent?
Just on the subject property, is there any construction going on this site?
I thought they had taken out a permit and they were starting on it, and I haven't got my update on it. I don't have notes on it. I could consult my phone. I believe I have an email regarding their concept, but I wouldn't want to offend the rules.
There is a new building on the site.
Hmm?
There is a new building on the site.
Okay.
Yes.
And
It's under construction.
yeah.
I know it's occupied.
Is it occupied?
It's
already?
occupied? So there's a sub coming.
Oh, well, I would assume so. I mean, that's up to the assessment department.
I don't have any information on that.
Yeah, you admit if you change the value, you'll get a sub produced and become really quick. Otherwise, we have to wait for 2 years.
Those are my questions.
May I ask what it is? You know?
I believe it's a Bell MTS store.
Okay.
Pardon?
That's exactly what it is.
And I know you can't give evidence, so you can only
I said I believe.
believe.
You believe it.
Okay.
Some of us drive by there a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you very much for that. I need a short break.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next
Sorry,
property. And I
for the record, occupancy permit was issued November 26th, 2019, which was after I submitted my evidence. Just need to point that out. So we're going to assume a supplemental will be issued likely January 1st, and I think it might be wiser just to confirm this property. Because of wiser or not, you're gonna do it, so I'll pretend it's my idea.
might as well pretend it's your idea. Well, you never know what we'll do.
That's
The next property I don't have an address on, it just says Vintage Enterprises. Is there a reason there's no address there?
Yeah, we just have a roll number.
And where is it?
It's a good question.
It's off Henderson Highway, at the corner of Oakland and Rome.
Henderson and Roman?
It's behind a business on Henderson.
Okay, well, you're gonna get into it, I guess. When you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4534. Roll number is 0000400. It's a vacant commercial lot. Land area is 10,079 square feet. Our recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turning to page 3, I guess we can refer to the bottom picture first. Henderson Highway is that main road in yellow on the left of the subject. There's a business, I believe it's 1109 Henderson, and the business uses this lot as parking. And then the top picture shows an overhead view of the cars parked there. Turning to page 4, please. We have 4 comparables, all VCOM. The first one's at 1271 Henderson Highway. Its land size is 6,594 square feet. Sale price $36.40. Second comparable is at 2033 Henderson Highway. It's a VCOM. It's sold for $36.54. 2131 Henderson Highway. It's a VCOM as well. Sold for the land size 11,712 square feet. Sold for $28 per square foot. The last comparable is found at 808 Regent. It's a VCOM. Land size 12,266. It's sold for $32.61 per square foot. Turning to page 5, our modeled land valuation is $33.61 per square foot. And as I mentioned, the subject's at 10,079 square feet. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Neufeld?
Yes, just the same as last time, the value per square foot chosen by the model, you chose these comparables?
That's correct.
And nothing newer than 2015, I notice again, these are all dated sales.
That's correct.
Do you know what any of them ended up being built on or used?
I do not.
The comparables are all on major thoroughfares, correct?
Yes.
And Oakland is not a major thoroughfare, is it?
It's off of it thoroughfare.
Those are my questions.
Brent,
No, I have no question.
on with your presentation, Mr. Neufeld.
The lots is shown on our first page, and it was purchased several years ago, maybe decades ago, as parking for the building to the east. The building to the east is 1099 Henderson, which will actually be heard this afternoon at 1 o'clock, and they should be heard together, but I can't control that. When the person bought the building, it has underground parking, and when he went to try to use it, the foundation had shifted, and there's like this, 10 inch concrete shifting in the basement. So they didn't have the parking they had hoped for. And last time I was in there, I'm told it's been taken out, but there was a 1984 Chevy Caprice station wagon, which was abandoned because they couldn't get it out because it was too long to get it up the ramp. They did finally get it out. They chiseled some of that down, but they're using the basement for file storage now. So they bought the land next door for parking for their site. After purchase, they were using it for a few years, and planning ordered them off the land for accessory parking. Now, I don't know if that's changed, because I see the current pictures that it's back in use as accessory parking. It's not rental parking. This is for the property's own use. And however, it is zone C1, so that is a permissible use. Sorry, may I just quickly double check that, principle of use and it had been zoned last time we brought it in as R, so I imagine it was changed.
Probably what brought the value of it.
Okay. So that's, I'm looking page, here, parking is. Okay, parking surface is not permitted in C1, that's on page 10. But as an accessory use, structure is not allowed, but there's a difference between, and I just have to double check this. There's parking structured, parking surface, both not allowed in C1. Accessory use, only parking structured is not allowed. So if a site isn't listed here, it's a permitted use.
So outside parking, accessory parking, and there's my point. It's not a parking lot, it has to be connected with the building.
And it is. So it's restricted usage. Now, we were looking at sales, and again, tried to stay off the main streets, because it is a block, half block off. Page 2, under number of sales, my review of them is that I will not rely on number 4 or number 7. Number 7 was only included because there's a picture of it on page 3, and I was told that one of the members of the board wanted to see a picture of that building yesterday. And by telepathy, I put it in for today. The other properties are multifamily, or in the case of one is an M3 zone of Givenchy. But in general, the multifamily sites would be more pertinent, and they're ranging from a low of 1876 to a high of 3641 for R2 zoning. We are using 1929, which is falling right into the range. Could have rounded it to $20 a foot, that would have been fine too. I think that's acceptable. That works up to 194,000 on extended. Last year's assessment was also right on there, 195,000. And there have been a number of municipal board resolutions on this property after many, many years of dealing with it. We just resolved, for example, the 2012 value at 119,000. So there is some consensus that of what this lot is that it's accessory parking off Oakland. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Jonathan?
Yeah, just a question on your last comment. I think what you meant to say was you agreed to 199,000?
No, I was just looking at 12, but we agreed to 119,000. Last year was set, the value was 195,000, that was the result of hearing. I'm missing 16's appeal here. 2016 was 202,000 based on assessment department's recommendation. That wasn't appealed.
Okay, I must have a typo, but
Yeah.
I have 199,000.
For which year?
For 2012 certificate of agreement.
Oh, I got it right here.
Is it $11.79 per card?
And I'll just show you, just so you know.
Okay, sure. It might be a typo in my system. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, yeah, for sure, thank you. One last question, you didn't choose to use any C1 comparables? Why was that?
Well, we didn't have, no, I guess they didn't, I didn't choose these myself. I know that yours are C2, C3 on the main streets, but I noticed, last year, we did use, a sale that you had referred to in one of the other, hearings from today. We had a 2012 sale of 2131 Henderson at 1878 a square foot. And we also had one on DeVries at $20.37 a square foot from 2014. So those are two older sales.
Thank you, I have no further questions.
Grant?
Yeah, I have no questions.
Yeah, I see that 302 Archibald now.
Yeah.
I'd love to have the history on that property one day. How'd that thing could stand there, that shell, for all those years?
I appealed it one year and boy, the owner, and it was funny because the city came in and defended it on the basis of the square footage of the framing.
Wasn't it put up by a concrete company
Yeah, I think so.
as another batching plant for competition against building products?
That was gonna be a batching plant?
I think so.
Unreal. It's just an eyesore. Anyway,
It's a topic of conversation and it's invaluable.
invaluable, invaluable. When did the C2 go on to this property? When did it become C2?
I have it as C1.
See, when did it become C1?
I do not have that on me. I don't know.
Would your comparables still be there if you had done it as a C1?
Yeah, because there's an equivalency in C1 for residential, and that's in here on page 6. I'm just looking for the equivalency. Here we go. C1 is the equivalent of RMFS. So that's
Where's that go?
it's at the bottom,
Yeah.
right here in the bold. So, it's an administrative equivalent, so the RMFS sales would be equivalent to C1. And I do believe that those two were developed in Transcona as residential properties.
Okay. Nothing further in summation? No?
Just very briefly, I appreciate the assessor's difficulty in finding sales, but all the sales are old and on main streets, and this is, our sales are newer and off-street. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to the next property, which is 268 Alamein. When you're ready, Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so file number 19-491, roll number 04007-137400. The address is 268 Almy Ave. We have a vacant commercial lot. Land area is 99,843 square feet. We're asking to confirm the assessed value of $2,312,000. Turning to page 2, we have a subject sale from 2018. Sworn value is $3.5 million. We did a company sales search. There's no evident association, so it appears to be arm's length. Turn to
What sale are you referring to?
the subject sale on page 2.
Dated?
We have it for September the 18th, 2018.
So I'd request that that be removed from the record immediately and the board disregarded.
Post.
Post records. Okay, turning to page 3, we have an overhead view of where the lot is located. Lajamodier and Almy, corner of. Page 4 are the comparables here at the bottom of page 4. The first one is at 2106 DeVries Ave. Sold at $20.37 per square foot. The second comparable is at 1328 Plessis Road. Sold for $29.21. Third is at 868 Regent Ave. It sold for $30.28, and the last comparable is at 1459 Regent. It sold for $26.96. Page 5 has our modeled per net rates of $23.16. That is my presentation.
Questions, Mr. Nicola?
This is the model value then at $23.16 a foot,
That's correct, yes.
and you chose these comparables,
I did.
and they're all quite dated as well?
Yes.
Have you inspected the site?
I have not.
At this point in time, do you believe that the roadways are finished?
According to my picture, it doesn't look like it's finished. This is from 18. I'm not sure as of now.
Yes, for example, the Almy that where it runs off Lajamodier, it truncates at that point, correct? It doesn't go through, does it?
I don't know.
As well as the street, Ravelston, it truncates as well, correct?
Yeah, it appears so, yes.
Okay. Those are my questions, thanks.
Brent?
Any permits on the site?
I don't have any permits on me, but I do have a note saying it's slated for a new car dealership. I'm not sure where along they are.
Okay, thank you.
On with your presentation.
Thank you. It's unfortunate that the post-reference sale was introduced, and I know the board's going to disregard it, but I'm compelled to provide you some background information. It doesn't meet the definition of arm's length as the assessor, of market value as the assessor has suggested. The user is on a termination lease at his present site, and this is the only piece of land that was available in the area, and the developer, Shindico, went out of their way to get this to the market, or get it available for their usage, and they did pay a premium to meet the deadlines that they have in place. And I know that they've begun construction. I was out there in, I'm gonna say July. Construction had not started at that point, but the sign is up. So we're probably gonna see a completion sometime next year, probably in the fall, at which time it'll be reassessed. In the interim, like I said, you can disregard the sale, please. based on the influences. I am their consultant on property values. I was involved firsthand in what I'm discussing. This is a story I picked up somewhere. It was from firsthand information. What we looked at for the site on page 2 where it was land in the area, and you can see that in the map, incidentally, the equivalency for C2 is RMU and RMFM. That's in the zoning in the back, and all of our sales are RMF of some sort, and they're all in the area. As you can see from the map, we're using from El Tassi, Ravelston, Fiorentino, all indicated on your map, very, very close by to the subject. The difference being is that the subject will eventually be a car dealership, and the sign that's shown on page 2, I believe, is a billboard advertising. That's not the future usage, because Elite is located at 515 Monroe. So you would also see that, and I confirmed this in my inspection, the roads are not complete, and they're still not complete, so it's not in a position where it would compete with other lands where the roads are finished, which is actually in relative, the same situation that our sales are in the area. This is a rapidly developing area for multifamily transactions. So our transactions are ranging from 617 to 804,000 per acre, with an average of 682,000. The one at the higher end is located on the other side of La Jamodier, as is the two at 800,000 plus are on the other side, whereas the ones below 800,000 and the 600,000 range are all on the east side of La Jamodier, closer proximity. Gives us some strength to look at the 682,000 per acre. Comes to a value of $1,570,000. As a fee simple market value sale, that is the number. That's my presentation.
Jonathan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, you mentioned that, so you didn't use any C2 comparables, but you mentioned that the...
Well, the C2 land, which is being brought to the market by Shinjuku in proximity,
Right.
are not ready for the market yet. So this one was rushed on to provide for them. So there will be some C2 sales coming.
Okay, so you mentioned that RMFL is similar to C2, or?
On page 6, the same paragraph I quoted before, C2 is equivalent to RMFM. Sorry, I said, CMU, not RMU, RMFM. And it's an administrative approval, so if you have C2 zoning, you can get the RMFM on an administrative request. You can't do it the opposite way, though. If you have RMFM, you can't administratively get C2. It is a one-way street. But the major demand in our marketplace is for RMF land, and so that would it be seen in competition with that. RMFM is 800 square feet of land required per unit. L is 400 square feet per unit, and S is 1,200 square feet per unit.
Okay.
RMU is the same as FM at 800 square feet per unit. That's what I was referring to. It just RMU allows for mixed use, which is be a combination of retail and multifamily on the same site.
Would a C2 zoning be superior to what you used? For zoning?
It is superior in usage. It's inferior in market interest, because there's not a lot of people looking for C2 right now. They're looking for apartment land. That's the strongest market development that's going on now, and even though it's less permissive, the thing is people want apartments to build right now, and they don't want the apartments on La Jamodier. They want them off La Jamodier. So you're paying more for land in that, on the basis of that particular use. So it is, there's some slight, there are some variances on that, and the only difference, as I said, is the amount of C2 land is, the rest of the property, if you see that map of Alney is being planned out now for a commercial application that runs to reindeers.
Okay, thank you. So your comparables here you have listed, would you say any of these parcels would be good for a car dealership?
No, I'm saying that we're looking at raw value, and we're not appraising this or assessing this on the basis of that it could be a car dealership. That you can only do once they actually build it. We're assessing it on the basis of land for any particular usage. And right now, the market is in demand for multifamily, and that's what I'm getting at.
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
Brent?
I have no question.
So, I don't know how you've lost me here, but you did.
Okay?
This is C2,
Yes.
but you're evaluating it like it's R1M.
Well, C2 can be used for RMFM, and a lot of the land, if you think about what's happening now on Pembina Highway, the old Honda dealership, where the Subaru where Dairy Queen was, both of those were C2 zones that are now being developed with dense multifamily, because that's where market demand is going. And they're paying more for the land for multifamily than they will as a car dealership. So on the basis of highest and best use, the land as vacant would be competing with apartment users and developers, not car dealers. That's the theory behind it. And until they build it, then that changes, because once you put an improvement on a property, you change the highest and best use. You now have to consider it as built. So today, the highest and best use would likely be, is multifamily, which is why I use those sales. And the zoning is acceptable.
Okay,
And as I said, the rest of it is in development. This site was, they're trying to rush it to get it going. They got approval for this piece on their development before the rest was ready, and the purchaser is paying those costs. But because they've got to get out of their Nairn address has a 3-year lease, and it's the manufacturer and the dealer deem it to be unsuitable for continued usage, so they do have to move.
so is that the entire lot, or they acquired more land in there?
No, this is the entire lot, 2.3 acres. Their existing site was 1.8 acres. 1.6, 1.8? I can't remember now.
Okay, it's done. Let's move on to Nairn, 690. When you are ready, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 19-4470, roll number 1409-3880-300. The address is 690 Nairn Avenue. Property type is VCOM. Our zoning is C3. Land area is 72,651 square feet. Recommendation is to confirm the assessed value. Turn to page 2. We have sale history here. We have an arm's length sale registered in 2013. The end of 2013 in December. Sale price was $1,330,000. Turning to page 3, overhead view of the subject. located on Nairn, at the corner of Foster Street, or just off the corner, actually. Turning to page 4, we have 4 comparables. First one's at 868 Regent. Sold in November 15, land size 58,781. Sale price $30.28 per square foot. Second comparable is at 1459 Regent. C3, sale price at $26.96 per square foot. Comparable 3 is at 2106 DeVries Ave, also VCOM, sold for $20.37 per square foot. And the last comparable is at 1496 Regent, it's also VCOM, sold for $30 per square foot. Turning to page 5 is our modeled land valuation. The net rate comes to $24.83. That is my presentation, thank you.
Mr. Newbold, questions?
Yes, same as the last time, you have a model that generated the value,
That's correct.
and you selected these sales.
Yes.
Nothing newer out there?
For the best comparables I could find, these are the ones I used.
No, this part of Nairn is significantly different than Regent, is it not?
Yeah, it turns into Regent for a little bit further down.
Well, this property is located closer to the bridge, somebody tell me what the name of that bridge is. By Watt Street, by Archibald and Watt.
The Nairn overpass, isn't it?
Yes, thank you. This is located by, I thought it had a name.
It's quite a bit closer to
Okay,
that.
then it is the Regent. It's
Yeah.
at least a mile east
Sounds about right.
of Lagemodier.
Sounds about right.
Okay. So, and none of your sales are in the same style of area then, are they?
A little bit further down.
Okay. And do you have permits in your file?
I don't have actual permits on me, no.
Okay. Like the date of demolition permit, for example?
I have a note, demolition permit from February 14th, 2017.
Okay, and do you have copies of the mailers in your file from previous years?
I do not.
And do you have any information on the environmental issues of the property?
No, I do not.
So you're not aware of the environmental situation in this general Tyne Tees neighborhood?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you, those are my questions.
Frank, any questions?
I have no questions.
On with your presentation.
Thank you. At the time this property was purchased by the current owner, which was in 2013, there was a lease in place. That lease expired, it was to a used car dealer. That lease expired and that land vacated. The city was notified in 2015. The 2015 mailer indicated they had left, which they would have received in 2016. I have a copy of it, excuse me. And after vacating, the owner applied for a demolition permit on October 15th, 2016. So it was purchased as a revenue generating property. And after the tenant vacated, there wasn't a lot of interest in the old McDonald's building. So it was demolished and they had hoped to get some interest in development. And last time we spoke, there there has been no activity, and I haven't checked in the last few months on this site as to whether or not anything's happening. So it's still vacant land. The land itself is impacted by the former landfill site that was located directly south of the property. It was called the Tyne Tees landfill site, and the commonly known issue that happened is that there was a company that was making bricks, and they excavated, and then somebody came along and said, "Wow, this would make a really good garbage dump," and so they started filling the clay holes with refuse. So the entire neighborhood is impacted by methane. This property has, there's a map in the city planning, and I believe it has 16 monitoring venting locations on its site. And it's in the city planning. I have a copy of it somewhere. Actually, I have it in a file for another client of mine who is on Chester that show all the monitoring. Now, why I'm bringing up Chester is they built after this, and their requirements for development were that they had to put down additional, they had to do additional excavation, another few feet of gravel underneath their building, a membrane, and venting stations. That's the requirement for cleanup. Now, those are additional costs, but anytime you have environmental issues, there's three factors that you have to deal with. One is the cost of cleanup. Second is the cost of ongoing monitoring, and which is the venting. So every year you have to have it monitored, you have to submit reports. And the third one is called market resistance to detrimental conditions, because nobody likes using that word stigma anymore. But that's the official for it. And what it means is that the market doesn't like properties that have registrations on them. If this were a revenue-producing property, what we would have is a resistance to borrowing money. Most all EU countries, money coming out of there will not invest in anything that has a registration. Half of the North American funds now don't touch impacted properties. For example, the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund, Canada's largest Canadian property investor, will not invest and borrow money for any property that is impacted. The net result is that property owners who do have registrations are forced to, lenders who charge higher rates, lower ratios, or both. And that's where we get the concept. Years ago, we had people spouting off stigma, 2% difference in the cap rate. They weren't really far off, because that's how it affects the cost of borrowing money. You need to have your revenue produced 2% higher to cover higher borrowing costs. Now, this is undeveloped, but that's its restriction from being developed, is that it's going to have to deal with the market resistance. If someone wants to come along and put a building up on it, they know they're not going to have a very good chance of borrowing money, unless they have their own money in the bank and they borrow against it, which is called creative financing. The market has indicated this. So when we went for our valuation, you will see that we are heavily skewed to M2 sites, because they're impacted by the same issue. We were trying to stay as much as we could into areas that were close or near to impacted sites, and take a look at their numbers. And earlier, when we were discussing Alma, you could see that we had this nice range of 600 to 800,000 for land, clean land. Now we're trying to look for dirty land, and the top one, Waterford Green, is well, their impact is interesting. There was a mink farm on the site. Believe it or not, they got a registration for a mink farm back from 1930s, still a factor. And Niagara is from the proximity to Symington Yards, and I'm just trying to remember the rest of these off the top of my head, what their issues were. So that's what we were looking at, and we were also looking at some RMFM sites that we could find in areas that are could be impacted, because just to show what the difference is. The sales that the assessor brought up on Regent are, if they have an impact, it would be like a local impact. For example, if there happened to be a gas station on one of the sites, it could be registered. This is a total neighborhood impact that we're dealing with. So that's why we went and looked at the sales we did, and they're coming at 400,000 an acre. So based on that registration and the market resistance, we think it's going to have the same problem getting to market. I mean, you'll have a lot of interest, and people will go and try to make a deal contingent on financing. They'll go and get the financing. Their bank's gonna say, can I see your phase 2? Better yet, was a phase 3 done on it? Because it's real. And then the fun starts. And then comes the problems with bringing it to market. So that's what we're concerned about here, on it for value. Now the previous year, was 1,190,000, I believe. We filed an appeal on that, on this basis. I have one for 2016, I think I have one for 18. It's just about, like I said, it's the environmental that deals with it. Now, the properties across the street from it are, I believe, mostly habitat development, so small, single-family homes built into the habitat program. I don't think I saw the venting didn't extend on the other side of Nair for the methane. That's my presentation.
Jonathan, questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you bring in any evidence that it's an impacted site, any documents or
The
anything?
city is in possession of it because the city was the polluter.
Oh, really?
I can't show them their own evidence. It's in your files.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, inadvertently, they're the polluter, but yes, they are.
Okay. Any of your comparables on major roads such
Yeah,
as Nair?
There are some that are off major roads, and adjacent to them, and again, we were looking for impacted land. And, you know, M3 zone lands are quite interesting in that as the whole environmental issue came up, and zoning of M3 land became harder and harder to get, the value of M3 has actually risen too. That's another hotter commodity. 15, 20 years ago, you say M3 land, that's worth under 100 an acre. Now it's going for much higher. If you want a junkyard, that is. If you want a site that's already polluted, you want to put your junkyard on, you're going to get a good value. Again, we're looking at the land without any development on and its potential, and we think that that's the single largest factor.
Okay, and you didn't decide to go with any 3Cs zoning?
I couldn't find any that were impacted.
Okay. All right, thank you. No further questions.
Grant?
So is this the former landfill site?
That's part of it. Like, it extended, I have to just try to envision this, because Cole ends, I think Keeney side starts. So it was, there's this corridor that is between, say, Boardroom and Elmwood, and the entire corridor from Archibald to close to Lashmont, no, not to, I'm trying to think where the Gay Cavalier was.
Oh, that's the old 59.
Yeah, up to there, there's this strip of land that has all been impacted, and it's worse closer to Archibald, because that's where Allsip is. And that's the story we heard. No one's confirming it, except the test holes. And so the city, after they took possession, you remember that this was long considered that this should be a redevelopment
either for rapid transit or changing the roadways to go down there. And it's never been worked on, and then the city ended up developing part of it themselves with the public works yard. And there was a helicopter pad landing site that they used for their pesticide control. So they figured it was safe to store pesticides pesticides there because it was already contaminated. So they flew the little 247 helicopter out of there for spraying. I think ever since they put the public works yard, now Rapid Transit 3, which is now being considered, they're not even gonna use that path anymore. They're gonna go around some way. My involvement with it again started with building at Chester and Cole. That's the biggest area, and that's a block to the west. But the McDonald's site was marked 17 methane gas vents. And I don't know if you can see them in the pictures.
And that's the building to the left of the site, right?
Well, that is, the site had the 17. Now, the one to the left of the site, I think that's where McDonald's moved to, isn't it, when they relocated?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So they had the old site, they demolished it, and they moved to the new site. But they're vented as well.
On page 2, there's a for lease sign. Any activity on it?
No, there's been some discussion on it, there's been some proposals, some concepts drawn, nothing's ever happened to my knowledge.
Okay, those are my questions.
I have got none as of today's asking me. That concludes the matters for today.
You may have hauled your garbage there yourself in the old days, did you not?
No, we have our own landfill, remember? Same order, 90 meters long.
We actually